It may seem strange to say that there is a deep story in the cartoon Gumball, because it's a comic and random cartoon, but yes, there is a very deep and wonderful story in this cartoon, and I will tell it to you today.
But there is no future.
The basic idea of the cartoon is that all the characters are inside a cartoon, but they don't realize it, and they think they are real people. And we confirm this idea in The Signal, where there is a malfunction in the world, and he tries to distance Gumball and Darwin from the fact that they are in a cartoon. In The Void, Gumball and Darwin watch the cheerleading team, but notice that there is someone missing because the cheerleading team usually consists of 6 people. Then Mr. Small appears and tells them that he noticed other things were missing too, and that he remembered everything because he was wearing a hat. But they are afraid and think that he is a crazy person, and they finish their classes. But they notice the disappearance of one of the lockers, so they go to search the school photos for the missing character and already make sure of it, and Gumball remembers her name, Molly. He goes to the other students to ask them about it, but no one remembers it. So he goes to Mr. Small because he is the only one who remembers the missing things. He gives them patches to protect them from memory loss. After searching the missing locker, they find a photo of Molly that has not been deleted yet. They go to look for her house, and he tells them on the way that Elmore is a strange world. But sometimes there are some mistakes, and Molly is one of them. When they get home, they find that he has also disappeared, but they find that the world in front of them has become flat, and this is the end of the simulation. Or Elmore. They open the wall and find the void behind it. The void is Elmore's trash. Everything or everyone is useless and has no role thrown into the void. And they go to look for Molly, and we see that there is another person in the void, Rob. But they didn't notice his presence, and they go to look for Molly and put her in a hibernation. But she returns to normal when Gumball touches her, and they find out that she doesn't remember anything that happened to her. On the other side, Mr. Small finds his truck, which has been erased, and they use it to escape from the void, and immediately after they get out, the void deletes their memory of everything they have seen. In the Nobody, we find out that Rob was caught in the truck when they escaped from the void, and this led to the crash of his body, and when he comes out of the void, he sees that his body has changed, and his memory is deleted. He then goes to live in the Wattersons' basement, but Gumball and Darwin find him and question him. Who are you? And why did you do all this? He replies that he doesn't remember anything and that he's nobody. And Gumball tells him that he can make a fresh start and become a new person, and mentions to him a lot of qualities, but they are all present in other characters, except the villain. And when he hears that, he remembers everything that happened to him and tells them that he will be their enemy and the villain of this world. In the Oracle, Gumball and Darwin are in front of Banana Joe's house where he sells some old things, and they find a lot of paintings of many events that happened to them, and Banana Barbra or Banana Joe's mother painted them. And the date of all the paintings was before the events themselves happened. They find a painting of Gumball in the news. He is naked and surrounded by a lot of people, and the history of the painting is today. And so he tried to change his future, but in the end he achieved what is in the painting. We then see Barbra draw a painting and predict that the Wattersons will be stuck in the void, and this prediction is likely to be felt in the film. In the Nemesis, Rob tries to destroy Gumball and Darwin, but fails in all his plans, and they help him become a villain, and indeed he becomes a villain in the end. And one time, Rob buys a remote from the owner of the red truck, and it turns out that this remote can control the entire Gumball world. Rob uses the remote to go back in time, so he sees himself when he was in the void. And then he realizes that none of this is real and they're all inside a cartoon. But when he sees how Gumball left him in the void and did not help him, even though Gumball is the hero of the cartoon, and it's supposed to help others, his desire for revenge increases. He realizes that if he gets rid of Gumball, he can become the hero of the cartoon. He proceeds to carry out his plan, wrecking the family car and making them bankrupt, and spoils the relationship between Gumball and Darwin. He makes his parents break up. It also ruins the relationship between Gumball and Penny. After completely destroying Gumball's life, Rob reveals himself and that he was the reason for everything that happened to him, and tells him that none of this is real. But Gumball does not understand what he means. A fight begins between them, and the fight ends with Rob throwing the remote into the void. And in order for Gumball to fix everything, he has to go behind the remote. And already he goes and manages to press the back button. This results in Gumball returning to the beginning of the episode, and the events begin to repeat from the very beginning. But this time Gumball knows what happened and learns about Rob's plan to ruin his life. So he tries to stop him from the very beginning. But during his fight against Rob, he points the remote at his parents and accidentally presses the back button, which leads to turning them into children, which means that Gumball and his brothers have not yet been born. And already Aeneas disappears and Darwin returns to his original form, a small fish without legs or lungs. A fight begins between Gumball and Rob, but this time Gumball wins the fight and gets the remote and banishes Rob to the void. But he feels bad about what he did and feels that he has become the villain, so he goes after him into the void to save him. But Rob does not want Gumball to save him, and he tells him that he belongs here with all the faults of the universe. But Gumball insists on saving him. When Rob sees that Gumball is putting himself in danger in order to save him, he apologizes to Gumball for what he did. He tells him that it is difficult to continue to hate him, and then he uses the remote to go back in time, until the moment he bought the remote and smashed it, which means that all the things he did, it's like they never happened. And Gumball will not remember anything from what happened, and Rob is the only one who remembers. He is also the only person the outfit knows about the existence of the void, and knows that they are all inside a cartoon. And in the X, we see that Rob no longer wants to be the enemy of Gumball and became the enemy of Banana Joe. But since Gumball doesn't remember what happened and thought it was cool to have an enemy trying to make Rob hate him again, and he succeeds in this. And in the future, we see all the paintings painted by Nana Barbra. Some have happened and some have not happened yet, and she draws a painting of herself, and there is a strange shadow behind her, and it turns out that this person is Rob. He kidnaps her. A week after her abduction, Banana Joe is seen looking for her with Gumball and Darwin and tells them that his mother was acting normal, even on a day when the pressure of work on her was very great, which led to her explosion. And from that day on, she began to paint the future. Then we see that Rob put her in an abandoned warehouse and asks her to draw the future so that he knows what will happen, but all she was drawing were pictures of emptiness. And this means that the void is the future, and that all the characters will be deleted in the void and forgotten forever. But Rob doesn't want to be convinced of this. She uses her other ability, which is to change reality in the sense that if she draws a painting of something that exists in reality and starts changing the painting, this thing will change in reality as well. A portal opens to transport Gumball, Darwin, and Banana Joe to them. Rob is surprised by Barbra's ability and says you can change the future. And Barbra replies, "Only what's left of her." Then the trio arrive, and Rob tries to use Barbra's ability and get her to draw things that help him in the fight. But the fight ends, and Banana Joe grabs his mother's hand and makes her wipe Rob from the painting she painted. And this led to the erasure of Rob from existence. But then Gumball feels sorry for Rob, so he asks her to paint him again. She paints a picture of him falling into the void, and Gumball says, "See you in the future, Rob." But Barbra replies,
But there is no future.
Barbra obviously knows that they are all inside a carton and that it will be destroyed in the future, but she doesn't want to help save it. And in the last episode, the Inquisition, a real character arrives at the school and makes the characters act like normal people. Then he begins to turn the school students into normal people, and he succeeds in it. But in the end, he tries to turn them into real people like us. Gumball and Darwin are horrified by the sight and try to escape, and the inspector asks the other students to catch them, but they escape using their cartoon abilities, while other students cannot catch up with them because they have become ordinary people, and they don't have the abilities of cartoon characters anymore. After that, the duo decides to return to school in order to bring the students back to normal. And already they succeed in this after doing some crazy cartoon movements in front of other students. They remind them of their original personalities, and after returning all the students to normal, they become opponents of the inspector's plan. So he tries to escape from the school, but they catch him, and eventually they find out that it is Rob, and he tried to turn them into humans in order to avoid the prophecy in the future. He tries to explain to them, but Tina crushes him until he faints, and Rob wakes up in the evening after everyone left and says, Why did they stop me? The transformation was the only way they have to escape, but the earth shatters and a void appears behind it. And he says,
"Oh no, it's turning."
and it's pulled into the void, and the cartoon ends with this scene. And it's the same